Hi there, it's Cindy, and we have another episode of Real Estate Questions and Answers. And today we're going to be going over dates and deadlines and how that affects your contracts. So sit right there, we'll be right back. Welcome back, and let's get right on into dates and deadlines and how they affect your contract. So dates and deadlines are going to come with the buyer's contract to purchase, and it's going to keep everything moving along, letting everyone know when things are due. So dates and deadlines are very, very important, and you need to be aware of them. Now, your agent will do most of the heavy lifting here when it comes to dates and deadlines, but you still need to know when things are due because most things are time sensitive in the contract, and there will be some items that you'll have to take care of as well. So the first thing we want to talk about with dates and deadlines is when everything is due. So this is like when they send source of water or an amend. When do you have to have it signed by? So if a time is not designated, then it is 11:59 p.m. Now think about that for a minute. That's after everyone has been closed up for the day. So the banks usually close at 5 or 6. Title companies are going to close. Insurance companies are going to close. But yet you can sign a document up to 11:59 p.m. Most people will not be looking at their email at that time to respond to that. So make sure you discuss that with your agent and see what time works best for you, because you can designate another time when everything needs to be signed. The next thing that you're going to be most interested in is the earnest money deadline. Now remember, earnest money is like your security deposit. Tells those buyers that you are indeed interested in buying their property and you have some skin in the game. So your earnest money needs to be turned in by a certain time. If that earnest money is not turned in by the date in the dates and deadlines, your contract is no longer valid. So it's very important that you meet that deadline. Then we come to dates and deadlines for title insurance. The title company is going to do a search on the property. They're going to come back with what they found. So they have a deadline. You have a deadline to review that title work. And there's also another deadline to object in case there's something that you do not like. And then another deadline to resolve that objection. So there are several dates and deadlines when it comes to title insurance. Now we come to association docs. Association docs are like when you're in an HOA, you have to have all that documentation so you know exactly what is required on the association. So again, there is a time to get those in, there's a time to review them and object, and another time to resolve any issues. The next one that you're going to really want to pay attention to is the seller's property disclosure. They will send over, the sellers will send over an SPD, seller's property disclosure, that lists any material facts that they know about the property. Please make sure you take some time to review that document. Then we come into lead-based paint. Now, it used to be before 1978, they had lead in most paint that they painted houses with. So it's very important that you know the age of your property. Now, once they repaint over it, it's encapsulated, but you do need to know about lead-based paint and the harm that it does come, or the risks that come associated with lead-based paint when you have young families in homes where a toddler might pick up a paint chip and chew on it. So make sure you know the dates and you pay attention to that lead-based paint. The next one we're going to have is your loan application. Loan application is huge. Of course, you can't get a house without the loan application going through these days unless you're a cash buyer. So those loan application deadlines are very important. Now remember, your loan application is not complete until you have a signed contract. So the signed contract between you and the seller will be part of your contract. There are several dates associated with that new loan. being terms, availability, and funding. So make sure you pay attention to that. That is where your lender, your agent, and you will really need to be communicating well. Then we have the appraisal. There is an appraisal deadline. Of course, the banks won't lend on more money than the property is appraised for, so that is very important. If you have an FHA loan, that date is not laid in stone, so make sure you talk to your agent and your lender about that as well. Then we come down to what we call an ILC, Improvement Location Certificate, or a survey. There will be a time for you to decide whether you would like one of these on your property or not. Sometimes title company requires that you have one, and sometimes your lender is going to require that you have one. Remember, there's a date to get it by, a date to review and object, and a date to resolve. Then we come to water and mineral rights. Now in Colorado, water is king. So if you have water rights, those are very special. They need a little bit of special attention. So if you have any water rights or mineral rights, which are a little less common, make sure that you're following those dates and deadlines and you get all the information that you need. Then we come to the inspection. Remember, the inspection is something that you pay for outside of your closing costs. You schedule it. They are working for you. They're going to look at your property and tell you everything they can find about that property. So very important. Now, the inspection dateline is very important for this because if you miss your objection date, you no longer can ask for repairs or compensation for things that you find. So it's very important that you're paying attention to that date, and it usually happens early on in the contract. Again, you have a time for objection, resolution, and termination. Then we come to due diligence documents. Due diligence documents are anything that would affect the property, such as any leases that come with it, any work that has been done, maybe there's some warranties, maybe a roof warranty, any permits, any reports that have been done, like an engineer's report, any inspections that have been done previously. So anything that can give you more information on the project, we call that due diligence. Again, you have this 3: objection, resolution, and termination on those as well. Then we come to conditional sell. What is a conditional sell? A conditional sell date is one of those dates that you need to abide by in the contract if you're selling another property, which enables you to purchase a new one. So let's say you're living in a house right now. You must sell it first before you qualify for your loan. There's a certain date that must be done by in order for the contract to continue on. So conditional sale date is very important. Now we're coming to the final end. You're almost there. Yay! Now we have a closing time. So the closing date is put in ahead of time. Of course, that can be adjusted if you need to with an amend. And then you have a possession time. Most contracts will say at time of funding. So you won't get the keys until the seller gets their money for the property. And the final item there is actually the first thing that happens. It is the acceptance deadline. So as a buyer, when you send over a contract to a seller, they have to respond to you by a certain time or your contract is no longer valid. There will be a date and a time that they need to respond to you by. So that's your acceptance deadline. So there are a ton of dates to pay attention to in dates and deadlines, and they do have major consequences if you miss one. So please, if you have any questions, do reach out to your agent. If you have any questions for me, please put them down below. If you like this video, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe. And if you have another topic you'd like me to discuss, please let me know, because I'll be happy to make you a video. Happy real estate hunting. We'll see you next time.